The Two-Thirds Treaty by Olivia Vitale. On November 19, 1794, King George III and others from the United States and Great Britain signed Jay's Treaty in London, England. The treaty was written by John Jay, one of the founding fathers of the United States. The treaty was created to maintain peace with Great Britain and to preserve U.S. neutrality. Although it was very unpopular upon the majority of Americans, it was able to reach these two goals. After the Treaty of Paris was signed in 1783, Britain and America still did not get along. This is because of three reasons. One was that British exports flooded U.S. markets, while American exports were blocked by British trade restrictions. Another reason was British occupation of northern forts, which they agreed to evacuate in the Treaty of Paris. The final reason was British impressment of naval and military supplies from American ships. The high amount of impressment brought Britain and America to the brink of war in the late 1700s. In 1793, Britain and France went to war. Important political figures were torn in two. Some, like Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson, sided with France, while others, like Secretary of the Treasury Alexander Hamilton, sided with Britain. In the end, Washington decided to side with Hamilton and sent John Jay to Britain to negotiate. Alexander Hamilton gave orders to Jay about how to write the treaty. He told Jay that he needed to make sure the treaty stabilized relations with Britain and increased trade between the two countries. As Hamilton said, the treaty would prevent a war that would give a serious wound to our growth and prosperity. Jay had few threats to use against Britain to force him to sign his treaty. His one threat was that the American government would team up with the Danish and Swedish governments to fight against impressment by force of arms. Sadly, this idea was shut down by Hamilton, who personally informed the British government that there was no chance of the American government doing any such thing. This move left Jay with little leeway. Everyone was torn between whether or not to ratify the treaty. In a letter to Edmund Randolph, Washington concluded that it is better to ratify it in the manner the Senate have advised than to suffer matters to remain as they are, unsettled. In the end, the treaty squeaked by with the 10 to 20 vote, the minimum amount of votes needed for it to pass. Even after it was signed, there was still controversy between political figures. Thomas Jefferson stated it perfectly in a letter to James Monroe. He said that so general a burst of dissatisfaction never before appeared against any transaction. Those who understand the particular articles of it condemn these articles. Those who do not understand them minutely condemn it generally as wearing a hostile face to France. In the end, Jay's treaty addressed very few U.S. interests and gave Britain additional rights, including telling the British Army that he could seize U.S. goods that were on their way to France, if they paid the full cost of the goods. The treaty did manage to get Britain to surrender the Northwestern Post, which was already agreed to in 1783. It granted America most favored nation status in Britain. Overall, it did not address as many issues as America would have liked it to, but succeeded in keeping America and Britain on good terms and to increase trade between the two nations.